Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to change colors on our chevron scarf if you have a slip stitch chain sort of edge. So how to change colors to get the smoothest transition. So this is what it will look like. So we are going to change colors on a right side row. So I have my stitch marker here in the front to tell me this is my right side row. So the reason I do that is so that on the wrong side row, I have the transition between one color to the next where they kind of overlap a little bit right here. And if you like the way that looks, that's a nice design element as well. It would look nice on the front as well. So if you want to hide that, you change colors on the right side like I'm about to do. If you want that to be on the front of your scarf, then you would change colors on the wrong side. So just keep that in mind. But if I did this again, I might put this on the front because that would look really nice with the chevrons as well. Okay, so we're changing colors on the right side, but since we're doing this slip stitch edge, we actually need this last stitch of the previous row to be knit in the new color. So I'll show you what that means. So this is going to be my new color right here. And this lighter pink is my old color, this darker color is my new color. And we are ready to change colors, but we need to go back and knit this stitch. So usually I get to this point, realize I need to change colors and just go back and undo that. But if you can remember at the very end of your wrong side row to knit that stitch in the new color, that will save you a little bit of time. So I'll just show you how to undo that one. So it helps when you're undoing stitches to hold the yarn a little tightly and to take your left hand needle, bring it in front of the back leg of that stitch that you want to undo, the back leg of the stitch that's below the stitch that's on the needle. So there's the stitch that's on the needle that we want to undo. So I'm bringing the needle in front of the back leg and I'm just going to undo it. And I'm going to bring that tail in the back because I want all my tails to be in the back. So I'm going to show you how to weave them in as you knit. So like I've done down here, I'm going to show you how to do that. And I could have done it further if I wanted to. So you can experiment and see what you like. So here's my new color. So to change colors, very simple. You just leave a little tail of your new color. I'm going to use my left thumb to hold that tail in place. And since I'm going to knit this last stitch, I need to bring the yarn behind the needle. And I'm just going to knit that last stitch. And here's my tails that are at the back. Now I'm going to turn my work, and now I'm actually starting that right side color change row. So we're just kind of setting up for a color change by knitting that last stitch of the wrong side row. And so if you are slipping the first stitch, you're going to bring the yarn in front and you're going to slip it purlwise. So it's a little loose, so it's normal for it to be loose right now. So I'm kind of holding, you can take the tails and pull them if it feels too loose. So use your left hand to pull the tails. That can be helpful. I'm just kind of holding them back here and keeping them a little tight because otherwise they can get really loose and it can feel difficult to manage. So we're just slipping purlwise. So that's what I've been getting ready to do right here. I'll show again. So insert the needle purlwise, yarn's in front. We're going to slip that first stitch just like we've been doing to get our nice chain edge. And since we're knitting the next stitch, we're going to bring the yarn underneath the right needle and behind. Now we're going to knit the next stitch. So I'm going to show you how to carry the tails along as you continue in the pattern. If this feels too difficult or you're just not interested in doing that and you'd rather weave them in later, you can just leave your tails here and just continue in your pattern in the new color. And then you'll just weave them in later, especially if you want to make a reversible sort of design. You would wait till the end to weave them in so that you could hide them really well. But I like to weave them in at least for a few stitches just so that there's not a big hole here and it's not really loose and everything. Okay, so now we're going to knit the next stitch. So I'm going to insert the yarn ready to knit the next stitch, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my tails and drape them over that right hand back needle. And I'm not going to knit those in. All I'm doing is draping them over so that, and if you feel that you can do this, you can also hold them in your left hand, but it's also fine to just leave them draped over or held behind like this. And now I'm just going to knit that stitch, and but knitting the stitch and making sure not to knit in those tails. So I'm just knitting like normal with my new color. So I pulled the yarn through that stitch underneath those tails. So that's just going to carry them behind. I'm going to pull the tails a little bit more. I'm going to slip my marker, which I have a marker at the beginning to tell me that this next part is a slip knit. So when you're carrying the tails behind, you only have to drape them over the right hand needle every other stitch. So since we just did that, we're going to go ahead and do our slip knit just like normal. You can let those tails hang down. So we're going to do our slip knit just like normal. And then you can see how the tails are being carried behind. And now on this next one, we're going to drape the tails over again. So we're draping the tails over that right hand needle, not knitting them in. We're just going to knit that stitch, making sure to go underneath the tails as we pull this yarn through. You don't want to catch them and pull them through. And the next stitch is a knit. So we're just going to knit it like normal. We're not going to drape the tails. You just do that every other time. So the next one, we're gonna drape the tails over that back needle. And the next one, just knit like normal. And so you get this look when you do that, and it carries the tails along and keeps your yarn from being really loose where you changed colors. This isn't something you would want to do if you wanted it to be reversible though. So since I have a wrong side, I'm doing this so you can, what I'm talking about is, so when I carry the tails behind, it gets a little lumpier back there. So since this is my wrong side, I'm gonna weave these ends in some more. I don't really care that it's a little lumpier, but if I wanted something that was reversible and I wanted it to look really nice on the back, then I would just leave those tails after I change my new color and just weave the tails in at the very end, which can be very time consuming. So, so yeah, I encourage you to just to try this if it feels right. It does save time at the end, and yeah, it's just nice to do that as you go. And also, since we knit the last stitch of the previous row in our new color, it's just going to have a nice seamless transition like we do down here, rather than that slip stitch jumping up like it would if we didn't knit the last stitch of the previous row. So here, I'll show this one more time if I can. And once you get the hang of this, you can just kind of carry the tails in your left hand. And this is actually how you carry floats when you're doing like Fair Isle color work. But it's a great way to weave in your ends too. So on this one, I can see that the next one needs to be one where I drape the tails over. So I'm gonna bring the tails over, knit that stitch, bringing the working yarn underneath those tails and pulling through. Now I can see this next stitch, I need to just knit like normal. Now I can see that this next one I need to drape them. And the next one will just be knit like normal. There you go.